We have some breaking news to get to early on a Wednesday. You're watching Philadelphia Eagles Now by Chat Sports. I'm Chase Sr. Appreciate all of you for being here with us. Landon Dickerson needs thumb surgery. He's going to be out on Christmas Day against the New York Giants. Also coming up on today's show, I'm going to explain at the end how the Philadelphia Eagles, Nick Sirianni and this offense are failing Jalen Hurts and how Philadelphia could take down the New York Giants. First, let's hit the news on Landon Dickerson. A lot of thoughts here, obviously, and this is impactful for Philadelphia. Mike Garafolo, NFL Network, breaking the news this morning that Landon Dickerson is undergoing surgery on his thumb today. He is expected to miss minimal time and will not be placed on IR. The good news here for the Eagles is that Dickerson, as noted by Mike Garafolo, is expected to be back before the end of the year. Him not going on IR is obviously really good news. Obviously, though, with an offensive lineman dealing with a thumb injury, you use that thumb and you use that hand placement a lot to engage with opposing blockers along that defensive line. The bad news here as well is that Philadelphia against the Giants team that has a pretty solid defensive line, especially along that interior, could be without two of their starting guards in Landon Dickerson as well as Cam Jurgens. Jurgens missed Monday night's game against the Seattle Seahawks because of a pec injury. So now, with this Philadelphia Eagles offensive line, you're dealing with a lot of injuries. You're dealing with a lot of moving parts against a team that has that good defensive line. A lot more to get to here on the show. We are only getting started. A lot of analysis to come because I want to get in my bag. But first, this is why you subscribe to the channel, because when breaking news happens, we cover it. I also want to thank everybody out there because I'm looking down at the analytics right now. We just surpassed 68,000 subscribers. So if you want Eagles content every day and year round that's informative, entertaining, and insightful, this is your go-to spot. Hit that subscribe button right now. Why the Philadelphia Eagles will miss Landon Dickerson. Eagles already banged up at offensive line, as I said. And health year over year is really difficult to sustain. In the first 2 years under head coach Nick Sirianni, after kind of a disastrous run with head coach Doug Peterson in which the Eagles were always injured, the Eagles were one of the least injured teams across the National Football League. Last year in the Super Bowl, the Eagles actually had all of their starters on the field against Kansas City. Think about how difficult that is to do in an 18-week, 17-game season where Philadelphia also played 2 playoff games thanks to getting that first-round bye and home field advantage in the NFC. Last year, along the offensive line, Philadelphia only had to use 6 total starters all year. And that was when Lane Johnson got injured in that game against the Dallas Cowboys at AT&T Stadium. And now we've already seen Lane miss time. We have seen Cam Jurgens miss time, as well as now Landon Dickerson. So the health not able to sustain year over year, especially along that offensive line. Landon Dickerson is also very critical to the Eagles' success with the brotherly shove. Yes, Jalen Hurts operates mostly behind Jason Kelce, who's able to get the push, he's able to get the leverage. But Landon Dickerson is a bull. He helps create that space a lot as well. And Dickerson this year, the 17th highest graded guard according to Pro Football Focus. And I want to look at the PFF numbers for Dickerson. League average is 70, right? So anytime that you're around that number and PFF can get very critical with some of their grades, then you're in a pretty good spot. So the overall Pro Football Focus grade for Dickerson here in 2023 is 69.2. But the pass blocking grade is very, very good at 75.1. You would think with how strong he is, a mountain of a man who's really sturdy, he would have a little bit of a better run blocking grade. That's somewhat disappointing at 68.4. And then you look at the snap counts. He's played 931 snaps this year, 555 of those pass blocking snaps, 376 the remainder, the run blocking snaps, 9 penalties, 3 sacks allowed, not bad given the sample size. Hits allowed, 5, and pressures allowed. It's not the best number at 33. Landon Dickerson would even tell you that he can be better in that regard. As for the lineup change, you would expect if Cam Jurgens can't play against New York because of that pec injury, then Sua Opeta would once again start at right guard. Dickerson did miss a snap or two against Seattle when his face mask got dislodged and taken off, so Tyler Steen had to fill in there at left guard. You would imagine that Tyler Steen would start for Landon Dickerson if Landon Dickerson cannot play at left guard. So with that, I ask you this. Who you got on Christmas? Is it the Eagles type E? Is it the Giants type G? Get those game predictions in right now down below in the comment section. I know that the Eagles have played awful football over the last 3 weeks, and I've called this football team out. They are playing and looking like frauds right now. Something tells me, though, that Philadelphia is going to be able to be dominant, and what I want to see the Eagles do, get on the good vibes once again. You know me. I'm a good vibes type of guy. Wear the Kelly green jerseys on Christmas. Get the fans excited. Get the Eagles feeling good about themselves. Look good, feel good. That's always the motto, because then you're walking about life with a little bit more confidence. I think the Eagles have to do something to get the good vibes back. Coming up next here on the show, don't you dare go anywhere, because I'm going to explain how the Philadelphia Eagles have failed Jalen Hurts and also how the Eagles can beat up on the New York Giants. But first, let's shout out our sponsor, Game Time. If you're looking to go to this Eagles-Giants game at Lincoln Financial Field on Monday, I know my buddy Jason Brown has tickets. He got those thanks to using the Game Time app, and he plugged in the code EaglesChat to get $20 off. What's incredible about the Game Time app is that as the event gets closer, the prices drop, allowing you to save money on top of that discount code of $20 off Eagles Chat, but you're guaranteed to get the lowest price with the best seats. Now, if you want to go to an Eagles game, that's great. There are a couple games still left at Lincoln Financial Field. Giants game on Christmas, and then the Cardinals game the week after that. Philadelphia desperately needs to return home to Lincoln Financial Field to get the good vibes going. There are tickets available for that, but also you can use the Game Time app for road games as well. Eagles-Giants, MetLife Stadium in Week 18. Hopefully Philadelphia has already locked up the division at that point. Use that promo code EaglesChat. You can use it for an Eagles game, a Sixers game, a Phillies game. Once they're back in action, I'm still not over the NLCS defeat, choking in Game 6 and 7 at Citizens Bank Park. But if you want to go to a concert, a theater event, a comedy show, which I'm really into as well, you can use the Game Time app for that as well. All of that information available for you in the comment section as well as in the description of this video. All right, I want to get to this next. There are a lot of reasons why the Philadelphia Eagles offense has failed over the last 3 weeks, but I want to explain how Philadelphia has failed Jalen Hurts, because this Eagles offensive coaching staff has done Hurts and this offense no favors at all. The Eagles offense has failed to evolve from last year to this year. And I think a lot of teams across the National Football League have studied this Eagles offense for 2 reasons. 1, how to stop it. 2, how to take play designs away from the Eagles offense to implement those type of offensive intricacies with their own offense so that they can be successful. But year over year, from 2022 to 2023, there's been a lack of creativity from head coach Nick Sirianni, and there's been a lack of evolution. And that's why the rest of the NFL has caught up to this Eagles offense this year, especially over the last 3 games where everything has become really hard. Teams are taking away the explosive plays, and teams are predicting what the Eagles are able to do on the offensive side of the football. In turn, the Eagles offense has fallen off a cliff. And I think that's also why from game 1 against New England all the way up until now, we haven't seen this Eagles offense be consistent. And we haven't seen them consistently move the football. Now, they've turned the football over a lot, and that's on the players with their lack of ball security. But this Eagles offense has been cornered into a position where they're simply not the same explosive unit as last year because there's been a lack of evolving and a lack of creativity from head coach Nick Sirianni. A great example of this on Monday Night Football, where the Eagles are also not tapping into their strengths and not tapping into what they do well. You go back and you look at the Super Bowl game against the Kansas City Chiefs, the Eagles relied on their strengths. Beating up the opponent in the trenches at the point of attack and winning with their offensive line and being able to run the football right down their throats. But then in the Super Bowl, you also saw the creativity. And we're not seeing the creativity with finding ways to scheme open A.J. Brown, to scheme open Devontae Smith. And Philadelphia right now isn't even using Dallas Goedert enough. And that really is confounding to me, considering how good of a weapon he is at that tight end position. And when you have Jack Stoll on the field, other teams know what you're doing. You're running the football because Jack Stoll is not a pass-catching threat. But if you have Stoll and Dallas Goedert on the field, then you keep the defense guessing a little bit because Stoll might be used as a blocker, but is Goedert going to be used as a blocker or a pass catcher? And then you're able to run the football because the defense doesn't know what's coming and pass the football as well. There's also these statistics from that Monday Night Football loss against the Seattle Seahawks. The Eagles, because of their lack of explosive plays this year, have started to press Jalen Hurts in particular. And he's tried to force the ball downfield, when in reality, there have been things open underneath. Jalen Hurts was 0 for 4 with 2 interceptions when targeting players 20-plus yards downfield. Don't even get me started on Quez Watkins. I ranted about him on Monday Night Football. It's time to bench him because he doesn't do anything well, and his lack of effort at making a play for the football is disgusting. Hurts, though, on throws of under 20 yards, was 17 of 24 for 143 yards. So why did the Eagles go away from what was working? So it's the lack of creativity, and it's the lack of playing into your players' strengths. On the first drive of the game, we've been talking about how this Eagles offense has been getting off to these slow starts. They went 15 plays, 75 yards. They took 8.5 minutes off the clock. Jalen Hurts and the Eagles were 4 for 4 on third down conversions. They were running it with DeAndre Swift as well as Hurts, and they were throwing it under 20 yards, and it was working. Everything was open. The slant to A.J. Brown out of the RPO, a great play that's a staple of this Eagles offense. What was the theme of that first drive and then the other drive in which the Eagles got penalized when Jason Kelce got called for the false start for moving the football? Short throws. The Seahawks could not defend it. And if you continue to throw some of those balls under 20 yards, and then you start to incorporate the run like the Eagles were doing, what then happens organically? The offense opens up downfield for Hurts to take those shot plays and take the top off of the defense. And I just don't understand why the Eagles are going away from some of their strengths. But I also don't understand Nick Sirianni's philosophy of being against pre-snap motion and being against some of this offensive creativity and these nuances that we're seeing from creative offensive minds across the National Football League, like the San Francisco 49ers and Kyle Shanahan, and the Miami Dolphins and Mike McDaniel. Shoot, even Mike McCarthy, who's a boomer with the Dallas Cowboys, has incorporated this year more of the 49ers type of plays with that pre-snap movement and creativity. When you watch San Francisco and Philadelphia right now, they are playing a different sport. Look at how head coach Kyle Shanahan maximizes San Francisco's weapons in Deebo Samuel, George Kittle, Brandon Ayuk, and Christian McCaffrey with pre-snap motion, and then some of the creativity of his play design, scheming open his weapons so that they can catch the football in space and pick up yards after the catch. Imagine what Dallas Goedert, A.J. Brown, and Devontae Smith would be able to do with the play caller and a play designer like that. The Eagles have so much talent, and you can make the argument that A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and Dallas Goedert are right up there with the weapons of the San Francisco 49ers. They're right up there with the weapons of the Miami Dolphins. They're better than the Dallas Cowboys at the skill positions. Yet, the Eagles' offense has not scored more than 20 points in 3 consecutive games, and their consistency has been so inconsistent as this Eagles' offense has been Jekyll and Hyde, and it's waned so much from game to game, quarter to quarter, series to series. And I don't understand why Nick Sirianni is shutting down this talk of pre-snap motion. He said after the Seattle game, I don't like what our offense is doing right now. We're way too inconsistent. We got to go back to the drawing board and try to find ways to be more consistent and produce explosive plays. You know how you can produce explosive plays? Pre-snap motion, which allows you to win pre-snap, win post-snap, and confuse the defense because they don't know what's happening in the lead up to you snapping the football, and then what's happening after the play as well. And then because they're confused, what happens? Your weapons are wide open in space. They catch the football in stride with Jalen Hurts, who's an accurate quarterback. And how difficult is it to bring down a Goddard, an A.J. Brown, a Devontae Smith? The Eagles' offense right now is a stale, vanilla product that does nothing creative. And right now, they're relying too much on their players to win one-on-one matchups. And it's an issue that their star players are not winning those one-on-one matchups. But why not make their lives a little bit easier? Nick Sirianni and Brian Johnson are not doing that. And I think that Sirianni has to do a better job of designing more creative plays, and creativity is really the theme word, the buzzword of this particular segment here. He has to do a better job of scheming up opportunities to help the Eagles get more advantageous opportunities to exploit some mismatches against the opposing defense. The good with Nick Sirianni is that he's a good players coach, he's a good motivator, and now in his third season, the Eagles have won a lot of football games. He made the playoffs in year one of a rebuild, Super Bowl in year two, and this year they are 10-4, 3 consecutive losses. They still control their own destiny. Sirianni is 35-17 as the Eagles head coach. I'm not alluding to the fact that they should move on from him, but the NFL is about adapting and evolving, and the Eagles are not doing that. What has Apple done over time? They've adapted and evolved. When Android came out with the phone and Google came out with the phone that had better specs and had better camera quality and did some things better and faster than the iPhone. What did the iPhone do? They countered that and they got creative. That's what some of the great offensive minds do. So Sirianni has his pluses, but what the concern is that he gave up play calling duties in 2021. And what does he do really, really well? Because he's not scheming up his offensive weapons, and his offense right now is an issue where it's a stale vanilla product that has not gotten creative and it hasn't evolved. And the Philadelphia Eagles clearly miss Shane Steichen. What's also interesting is that the Indianapolis Colts this year have been top 11, top 12 in pre-snap motion rate, whereas the Eagles are 32nd. So that tells me it's a Nick Sirianni philosophy. Shane Steichen leaves, and what does he start doing? More pre-snap motion because he understands the advantages of it. And with Sirianni, this is the issue with having a head coach who's a non-play calling head coach. Because anytime you do get a really good offensive coordinator, what then happens? That offensive coordinator will leave, and that coach will get poached for a head coaching job, and then you have to start the process over, and then what? We're going to revert back to what we're seeing here in 2023. Now, it's of course really important that Sirianni can manage the game well, and not all of the best coaches in the NFL are coaches who actually call plays as well. But when you get a good offensive coordinator, they are then going to get taken. So that's a little bit of an issue here with Philadelphia and Nick Sirianni moving forward. And you look at some of the best offenses across the entire National Football League, a lot of them are the offenses in which those offensive gurus and those offensive masterminds are the brains of the operation and the play callers for their respective offenses. Now, the good news here for the Eagles, they have 3 games to get back on track. They still have time on their side, and they have an opportunity to exploit the New York Giants here. Here are where the Giants rank in points per game, 31st. Points allowed per game, 25th. Their third down offense sucks, 31st. Red zone offense is 30th, and they are 4-11 in their last 15 road games. Tommy DeVito, the story is cool about the Gabagool and his agent and the Italian mob and the Italian movement. All that stuff is cool. This team stinks, and if you can't get back on track to seize back and regain some of that offensive momentum and find answers and solutions to your offensive problems, then this Eagles team really might be doomed. We'll be live a little bit later on Philadelphia Eagles Now. In the meantime, feel free to reach out, contact me. Let me know what you think of the show. Let me know your thoughts on the Eagles. I have a lot of people reach out to me who watch the show on my email, chase@chatsports.com. I want some more Eagles fans in there. So make sure you hit me up there. Then I'm on X and Instagram at Chase_Senior. We're going live on Eagles now a little bit later today, 5 o'clock Eastern, 2 o'clock Pacific. So subscribe, turn on your notifications. Therefore, when we do go live, you'll be notified and you'll be able to hang out with us.